Hello everybody, this is Dylan Wong here, and today I will review X-Men Days of Future Past, sequel to X-Men 3 The Last Stand, First Class, and The Wolverine. Now I have been an X-Men fan back when I was a kid. I watched X-Men the anime series back in the 90s and X-Men Evolution back in the early 2000s, as well as read a few X-Men comic books. In my opinion on the live-action X-Men movies, I liked the first X-Men movie, which was released in the year 2000. It had a very good story, great characters, wonderful special effects, and a spectacular action scenes. Its sequel, X2 X-Men United, I like it even more. It introduced new characters like Nightcrawler and Deathstroke, had more action scenes, much deeper story, and again, wonderful special effects. To be honest to y'all, I actually like X-Men 3 The Last Stand, even though I understand why a lot of people are very disappointed in this film. But the reason why I like X-Men 3 is because the action scenes and special effects are fun to look at. Some of the acting I think was very well done, and it introduced some interesting characters, including everybody's favorite, Beast. For X-Men Origins Wolverine, I liked it, but I consider it to be my least favorite of the series, because while I praised some acting and the action scenes, the story I think was weak. And characters like Deadpool, Gambit, and Blob didn't have too much screen time. X-Men First Class was great. The story was well told, great acting, excellent special effects, and cool action scenes. Last summer's The Wolverine, I actually think is a great Wolverine movie because unlike Origins, it had a better story, the character development was well done, and the action scenes again, amazing. When I heard that the next X-Men movie is a sequel to The Last Stand, First Class, and The Wolverine altogether, I was both excited and like, okay, let's see how it goes. So now that I finally went to see X-Men Days of Future Past with my uncle in 3D, what do I think of the film? This X-Men movie is fantastic! This is definitely the best of the series. But before I can tell you why I think this movie is fantastic, as always, this is a non-spoiler review, and I don't give much away, so moving on. Let's get on with the story. The story of this movie starts off in the future, where the world has come to an end, and it was overrun by one of the deadliest robots ever, the Sentinels. The mutants are outnumbered by those things, and they decide that the only way to stop them is to go back in time to prevent this from happening. So Kitty Pryde uses her power to send Wolverine back in time in 1973 to find and team up with young Professor X, young Magneto, and young Beast to stop the man who created the Sentinels, as well as preventing the wrong things from ever happening. I think the story of this film is just as good as X-Men 1, 2, and First Class. Now for the special effects. The special effects in this film, I think are well done. I really do like the designs of the Sentinels. They actually made them very powerful and dangerous at the same time. The makeup designs of some of the mutants looks a lot more realistic, just like the previous X-Men films. The action scenes in this film are way over the top. It was fun to see the battle between the mutants and the Sentinels in the future. Mystique gets to kick everybody's butt a lot more, and some of the mutants fight somebody with some of their awesome powers. Now for the acting, directing, music. Let's start off with one of my favorite characters in the X-Men universe. Wolverine, played once again by my favorite Australian actor, Hugh Jackman, who has also been in other awesome films like Van Helsing, The Prestige, Real Steel, and Les Miserables. Hugh Jackman has always done an amazing job as the Wolverine, as he did in the previous X-Men films. His portrayal as the Wolverine looked more like a tough guy. The way he behaved, the way he acted and moved, he will always be remembered as Wolverine. Now moving on to Professor X, played both by Patrick Stewart, who is best known as Captain Placid in the Star Trek franchise, and James McAvoy, who is best known for playing Mr. Thomas in Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, and Wesley in Wanted. Both I think did a wonderful job playing Professor X, as Patrick did in the first 3 X-Men films, and James in First Class. Both the young and the old Professor X are smart and they know what is right and wrong. Now for Magneto, played both by Ian McKellen best known as Gandalf in the Lord of the Rings trilogy and its prequel, The Hobbit trilogy, and Michael Fassbender, who has been in movies like 300, Prometheus, and 12 Years a Slave. Both did very well as the young and old Magneto, and you understand the feeling of these characters. Then there's Mystique, played by the girl in the Hunger Games films, Jennifer Lawrence. Her portrayal as Mystique was awesome, plus I think she looks sexy. Beast, played by Jennifer Lawrence's boyfriend, Nicholas Hoult, also I think did pretty good. Storm, played by Halle Berry, Iceman, played by Shawn Ashmore, Colossus, played by Daniel Cludmore, and Kitty, played by Ellen Page, who was from Inception. All reprised their role and did a fine as always, but they didn't really have much to do. Then there's the villain, Dr. Trask, played by Peter Dinklage, who is best known for playing that dwarf in Chronicles of Narnia Prince Caspian, and that little guy in the TV show, Game of Thrones. I think he was cool playing that evil scientist. He was the one who created the Sentinels to terminate all the mutants in the world. We're introduced to other new characters like Bishop, played by Amon Sai, Blink, played by that beautiful Chinese actress, Fan Bingbing, and more. Although I thought they're cool, but I felt they didn't really have too much screen time. The one who definitely stole the show was Quicksilver, played by Evan Peters. This guy was awesome. He was funny, he runs so fast, and he's pretty smart too. I wish I could see more of him. By the way, there's some surprise cameo appearances, but I won't tell you who. Bryan Singer, who directed the first two X-Men films and The Usual Suspect, had finally returned to direct this X-Men movie. After his Superman Return underperformed, he decided to come back for the X-Men franchise because other directors like Brett Ratner and Gavin Hood didn't do as good. So I'm glad he comes back, and he did a wonderful job directing this film. Last but not least, the music composed by John Ottman, who actually did the music for X-Men 2, as well as other films like The Usual Suspect, the two Fantastic Four films, and most recently, Non-Stop. The music in this film was fun to listen to, and better yet, it almost sounded like the music in X-Men 2. Overall, X-Men Days of Future Past is my favorite of the X-Men series. It was fantastic, and it is good to have Bryan Singer return in his director's chair. I love this X-Men movie more than X-Men 1, 2, 3, First Class, The Wolverine, and even Origins. Though I can't tell which is better, Captain America 2 The Winter Soldier or this film. Well, in my opinion, it's on par. So I give this movie 4.5 out of 5 nuclear bombs. Main reason is that the only flaws I have with this film is that I wish characters like Quicksilver, Blink, Bishop, and all the other cool mutants in the film should have more screen time, and I'm surprised that Rogue wasn't in the movie too much, but that's just a minor nitpick. So if you're a fan of X-Men and action movies, go see it. Oh, and be sure to see after the credits scenes. I won't tell you what happened, but it's left open for X-Men Apocalypse, which I really can't wait to see. Hopefully, Guardians of the Galaxy, another Marvel superhero film, should live up to the hype.